Welcome. In front of me is a ZTE V40s, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So let's just... first I need to find my little knife somewhere in this mess. Oh, there we go, found it. So I can get to actually opening it up. There we go. So right off the bat we do have paperwork, a little swirly semi-ejector, what a cute little thing, and a case. Now, I'll mention one thing, perhaps to ZTE to finally not putting it into some stupid little foil like every other manufacturer does. It's not like it's gonna go anywhere, and it's not like anything can get there, it's just neatly packaged there. Now this actually is a really weird one. The back is completely plastic, so it's not silicone like the edges, for instance, just plastic and hard one, as you can see. So there we go. Anyway, and here we get the phone, looking pretty sleek. Oh, those cameras, come on. Okay. Now what else we got in here? We get a charger. That's a surprise. Now it doesn't look like a very fast charger. This is, well, surprisingly it's not the worst thing. It's a 22.5 watt charger. So for one that is included in the box, that's nice. Now in here we get also cable, Type-C, and then we get headphones with a, whoa, look at that. They even managed to include a little adapter from Type-C to just normal headphone jack. Props to ZTE for basically going extra mile to include everything that you actually might need with your phone. There we go. So let's just yeet that all to the side. Gonna put in the case right away just so we can see how that looks like. So there we go. Pretty slick. Kind of looks like it's just a bumper because the plastic here is just clear, and also, oh, it does leave some fingerprints on it, but it looks pretty nice, I would say. Now if we power on the device, hopefully it's charged. It looks like it is, so there we go. So while it's turning on, I'm going to quickly mention the display that we all see right now. So this is a 6.67 inch display, 1080p. It's a AMOLED display, no high refresh rate, unfortunately. It has an 86.7 screen to body ratio, percentage obviously, and 395 pixels per inch, which is just a typical kind of display. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary, though the lack of high refresh rate is a little bit disappointing. Considering this phone was also released this month, meaning October, though at the beginning of it, so October 4th of 2022. So this is a really brand new device. And for a phone released at the end of 2022, not including even like 90 Hertz, it's already just like, what are you doing? Just, it doesn't cost that much more to include this, come on. Anyway, so apart from that, let's flip it over, where you will find the triple camera setup. Now, it's another thing, that's not a triple camera setup in reality. Reality meaning what you can actually use, or what you will be utilizing in a good kind of way. So the main sensor is a 50 megapixel wide one. That's a good one. You'll be using that. That's a main camera that basically is used for everything. Then you got a 5 megapixel macro. At 5 megapixel, it's okay. It might actually produce better photos than the 50 megapixel at 2 times zoom. I'll check it out just out of curiosity. But what you won't be utilizing is the 2 megapixel depth sensor. Not only is it a depth sensor, it's at 2 megapixels. Now, usually cameras use the depth sensors for portrait photos, where it tries to use that depth to define how far away the subject is, and then it does this amazing thing as capturing your hair, as an example, if you have it. And then it completely screws it up because the hair is just too fine, too small for the 2 megapixel depth sensor to distinguish it. So it does this literal like blur halo effect around your head. Where to go? And if you don't see that, that probably means that the camera isn't even using it. So anyway, so that's the camera. Actually, I'm gonna go to the setup just so I can actually show you the results of like the photos that this would produce. So I can just quickly skip through this. And should be right about done. Yep, there we go. Now, while I'm finishing up the setup, no, actually I'm already finished, so never mind. I just brain farted. This camera wants access to my phone for some reason. Huh? I did accept it for some stupid reason, but there is no reason for camera to need your phone. So that's already a really effing sketch. Gathering data much there, ZTE? Anyway, so I'm gonna disregard this access to camera to dialer for no reason. So I'm just gonna completely ignore it and proceed to actually take photos. So here we got a normal shot. See how that looks like. Pretty okay, fairly detailed, no problems here. Now if we go back and if I find macro, let's see how that goes. Okay, I think this should be in focus, though I'm not exactly sure. Looks pretty focused to me. So there we go. Now, actually, to make this into a photo that can compete, I'm gonna go back to, I guess, capture. Hello? No, there we go. And I'll do 2 times the zoom. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is in focus, might not be. It's a little bit off, but just by looking at this, I can tell you that at 2 times the zoom, the camera right here is not doing as good of a job. Additionally, one thing that the camera isn't doing a good job at all is just getting any kind of light into the sensor. So this is a pretty dark photo in itself. As you can see, the background right here is pretty freaking bright, but the actual subject is just kind of darkish. Something that didn't really bother the macro lens, which is even weirder. But obviously you can also see that the macro did capture a much higher quality close-up photo. So there we go. 5 megapixels is actually better than the 50 megapixel wide sensor in terms of macro shots and only macro shots. Obviously for normal photos you'll be using the 50 megapixel wide one. What you won't be using is the depth sensor. Now with that being said, to finish this off, we have the internals left off, so let's quickly go over that. We have only one version of this device, which is the 128 gigs of storage with 6 gigs of RAM. Now, I will also quickly check if we have any kind of expandable storage in here. And based on the tray size, it looks like we actually do. So, yep, we do have expandable storage. So even if 128 gigs of storage isn't enough for you, you can pop in an SD card and expand it probably past like a terabyte. There we go. And last thing would be the processor in here. So it's using the Unisec UMS 512T or T618, whatever that is. I'm actually not exactly sure how good this processor is, so I'm not gonna give you my opinions here of any kind of sorts or comparisons to what it compares to, because I have no actual idea. But in terms of the price, I can speculate that this is just a low-end processor. The phone comes at around 170 euros, so it's not expensive in any kind of way. There are obviously cheaper phones, but the cheaper phones won't come with an AMOLED display, as an example, and a pretty decent looking device in itself. It's a slick looking phone, fairly modern. Kind of looks like it borrows a lot of the design ideas from Apple, with the phone being just more blocky. If I can take off that case. There we go. So as you can see, we have just flat edges right here. Pretty just modern looking design, I would say. It is feeling a little bit cheap. The back here is plastic, and if you kind of can see it, it's a really flimsy one. So I'm literally pressing my finger into it lightly. This is not like with any kind of force, and you can see it just kind of deformed under it. So there is a little bit of give to it. It's not like flushed to the battery or internals, so you can literally feel like when you're pressing it, you can feel it when it touches the internals. And I'm trying to feel if you do also feel the imperfection, so there is a little bit of a dip in here, which I think so here we have like bigger dip. So yeah, you can kind of feel this under the cover. The back here is really flimsy. Now with that in mind, there is most certainly no water resistance to this device because of the plastic back. And a couple worth other things to mention would be we have a fingerprint sensor on the side. We have a Type-C charging port, which at this price range, I would say, or in this year, it's a given that you have a Type-C port, but you'd be wrong. There is still some really cheap phones that come with a micro USB in 2022, and it's absolutely infuriating that companies would still skimp out that 2 cents or however much it costs them to just give you a shit outdated charging port instead of giving you the Type-C. Luckily, European Union basically forced all the manufacturers to utilize the Type-C port. So basically any phone that will be released probably from like 2023 and further on just literally is forced into utilizing this port. So bye bye the micro USB, and every company that wanted to scam their customers by just saving couple cents per phone. Go F yourself. Like, it's just Now with that being said, there is one last thing, which is the battery capacity. 4,500 milliamp hours, and obviously the 22.5 watt charger should probably top up your device in about below 2 hours from fully dead to fully charged. So this is just a kind of a guess. I'm not exactly sure if that is going to be the most accurate guess, but should be somewhere around in this kind of ballpark of 2 hours. So there we go. That's basically all about this device. It's a pretty slick and modern looking device with fairly small bezels, under display, or not under, this hole punched camera, fairly good screen to body ratio with a nice AMOLED display, though it's lacking in this high refresh rate like I mentioned before. As you can see, it is pretty bright, and the phone itself just looks pretty nice. And additionally, you get everything that you would need with your phone, like charger, cable, headphones even, and headphone conversion, so you can use it with a Type-C port because this phone has no headphone jack in it. So yeah, basically the whole package. And just by looking at this OS right here that we have, the custom like Android, we do have couple pre-installed applications as bloatware, so that's a little bit on a not so fun side, but you can probably easily get rid of them. So uninstall and boom, gone. So we have a couple games pre-installed, as you can see. Some booking up, and some probably other trash. ZTE Care, WPS Office. So yeah, you can remove most of those and just keep all the stock Android apps if you wanted to. Other than that, the actual OS of this phone itself, the skin of Android, is there. It's nothing like super egregious, as you can see. You have just a little bit of a flare in colors right here in the settings. Notifications just looks a little bit different than you might expect from a default Android. This is dead, so I guess I'm not going to show you, but it's pretty close. Usually you do have just a actual like background, just a single color right there, like a grayish one that would block it and you wouldn't see the wallpaper, but here you do have like a blurred wallpaper in the background, so they try to make it look a little bit more modern. Anyway, so to finish this off, for $170, I feel like this phone is probably worth the money, especially if you need a cheap phone that will work, obviously. And anyway, with that being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.